Welcome to the Marketing Automation Show. I'm Joey Keller, your host. Today, we're going to talk about a topic which comes up pretty often in the forums. It's about preference center. We're not going to create a traditional preference center where you can choose frequency and other things, but you can choose what topics you're interested in. So if you're sending out newsletters with multiple topics, this will be the place where your contacts can choose the exact topic what they're interested in, have a peek into the newsletters, and change their settings. Let's get started. Let's put a to-do list together so we know exactly what steps we're going to do in order to get this amazing preference center together. So first, we're going to create our custom fields where we carefully choose all the different topics of newsletters what we would like to send in the future. Then we will create a segment just to test it out if it works. We're going to have different segments for a different newsletter, mixed segment, doesn't matter. We still need to create this segment. Then we're going to create the thank you page. I guess you love how we do everything backwards in Mautic, but it is what it is. Then we make our form. So you see, we need the custom fields to be ready when we make the form. And we also need the thank you page to be ready because the thank you page will be the next step after someone fills out the form itself. And then finally, we can create the landing page, which will be our preference center. And at the end, we're going to test out everything. In the meanwhile, we're also going to create an email. At least I'm going to show you how to do one just to make sure that you can, add that. Instead of unsubscribe link, you can add actually the preference center or additional to the subscribe link, unsubscribe link, you can add the preference center to that email. Okay, let's build. And we're gonna, first step, we create our custom fields. So let's say we would like to have a newsletter. We're going to have 4 newsletters actually, and in these four newsletters will be completely different topics. So I'm going to call this newsletter interest. This is our field. It will be added to the contact, and I would like to do a multi-select field. So select multiple, and let's add values. So we're going to have a marketer, which will be stored as marketer. We also would like to have a designer, which will be stored as designer, and we're going to have a coder, which will be stored as coder, and we will have also DevOps newsletter. DevOps. Okay. So these are the 4 choices. You can select multiple and no default value. So if I choose someone, let's open a person. For example, this one here. So from this moment on, I can choose his newsletter interest. So let's say it can be coder designer, and he will get emails accordingly. Okay, so second step, how would our segments look like for these 4 different emails? We have multiple choices here. One option is that let's create a new segment here. Let's call it newsletter coder. So for coders, you would be setting something like this. Newsletter interest includes coder. So if you do this, I also suggest to do email is not empty, in case you would get the coder interest for someone because you're parsing their page visits. Then this would filter out those who have actually email address. So you would always know that these people can actually get an email. If you want, you can also set bounces as no. So not equal yes. That's very important, because then you actually see how many will be delivered. And you can also set unsubscribe email doesn't equal yes. Why am I not going with the equal no? Because if somebody hasn't bounced, that doesn't mean it's a no. Maybe it's just an empty value. So okay, so this is a very good example for a segment. But you can of course include everyone. So your second option would be, for example, you have an email where you have different blocks, and if someone is interested in a coder block, then they see coder content, they would see the coder block. If someone is interested in the designer information, they would see the designer block. In that case, your newsletter would be, I would make something like newsletter all interest, and I would add here newsletter interest. And it's super important that these here, so you can go for these here are in between our ors, so it's marketer or designer or coder or DevOps. Doesn't have to be all of them. Okay, that's super important. So you can, this is a pretty safe segment here, and then you have everyone in there who has one of these interests. Great, now let's move on to the next step, which is gonna be our thank you page. Surprising it is. So I'm just gonna have for now a very simple thank you page, just that we have something. So I'm gonna go to landing pages, and I'm gonna do here, I don't know, just blank. I will say newsletter ref center or thank you. Okay, so let's go to the builder, and I'm just gonna write here for now thank you, and that's it. We will finish this later. So next step, we are going to create our form. So this form will be something where you can choose, I'm interested in this newsletter and that newsletter and in a third newsletter. So this will be a standalone form. We won't start the campaign right away after it, just gonna update the preferences, and people will automatically move between the segments. I will call this newsletter interest. And let's add the fields. First of all, we will redirect the URL, and the redirection will be based on our landing page, so it's this page here. So once someone fills it out, they will go to this page. Okay, so let's add the fields. First of all, we're gonna need an email address, and it will be your email. And here you might ask, so why you need the email address? You already know the email address. And the reason is we actually don't, we're not gonna show this if we know the email address. But if we don't know it for any reason, because the person is using a very evil firewall, which blocks our really cool tracking, then this will be a solution. They can still send out fill out their email address. Email is always connected with email, and we're gonna set it as required. So I'm gonna say email address is required. And for attributes, we will do some beautification a little bit later, that it looks actually nicer. So behavior is super important here, because that does the magic. Always display, no. Autofill data, yes. We want to fill this out. If we know the email, then we're gonna fill it out. But we will not show if we know the email. So this is gonna have an effect that you click, and then it brings you click on update preferences, you come to this page, and then the email is not visible, but we still need it, because that will help you to connect to the particular contact you're trying to edit. Okay. So the next one will be a multi-select field, which we call here a checkbox group. And this will be, I don't know, choose your interest, newsletter interest. Okay, so contact field will be shown here. I mean, saved. Newsletter interest. Validation, yes, it is required. I would say that this is required, or please submit your interest. Update your interest. Okay, properties. So we can connect it with this already. So I can say that, it's connected, but maybe I don't want to connect it in this way. So if you connect it here, it will be simply have the choices listed, but I would like to make it a little bit more beautiful. So I'm going to do it in the next step. Attributes, we're going to make it a little bit beautiful later. Autofill data, yes, we want to autofill it. So if we know already, we just, going to show it, and we would like to show it when the value exists. So you should see what your settings were. Cool. Okay, and instead of submit, we're just going to say update preferences. Cool. Now we already have our form. Let's see how it would look. Preview, great. So you would like to choose one of these options. I'm not happy with this because I wanna be more, a little bit more creative here. So we will change this actually right now. And here we have the custom fields. These are the different custom fields here. So marketer, designer, coder, DevOps. This is what we save. So we can change the form in such a way that these values are saved, but we're showing something else. So let's go back to properties. Don't use it. You see, we already have this filled out. So I'm going to say marketer newsletter. And here I'm going to say daily tips for marketers. Next one, designer newsletter. Weekly design tips. Coder newsletter. Daily hacking guide. And the DevOps newsletter. Play while you work. Okay, so this looks already a lot better. Let's save it and create our landing pages. And for landing pages, I will be super lazy here. And the reason is because I already created this landing page. You don't have to do it either. If you register by me for free, you can download this landing page. I created this one here. So it's a simple landing page. Go away, dude. And I already pre-filled it. As I said, register on my page for free, joeykeller.com, and you have a download center there, and you can download the whole HTML. So if you copy paste it, you can have this landing page. The good thing about this landing page is that here you have the chance to one more time explain what your newsletters are about, and people really appreciate that. Even if you can show an example, so you can just link the preview of your previously sent email. They really like it because there is a little insight of what are you going to send. They make them subscribe even more. Obviously, it is responsive. Okay, so here goes the form. I think this is form 43. So let's save this one and see how it looks. Probably I'm going to have to change the form a little bit because I don't think that it looks okay. Yeah, I'm gonna change these a little bit, that it looks a little bit nicer. So I left this here. Of course, you can just take it out if you want to. So let's change the form first. And here by newsletter interest, I'm going to add custom CSS to the attributes. This is where you can make your forms look a little bit differently. Add some label attributes. Let's do this black. I think input attributes are fine. This one should be also a little bit different. So there's more space and we have Arial everywhere. And regarding the button, I also have something ready. So we change that as well. Gonna go with this one. Okay. Save it and see how it looks now. Yeah, it looks a little bit nicer. And this blue is there. So you really wanna update those preferences. Okay, good. Now we have this. This has to be tied into your emails. Let's make. I'm gonna copy the link itself, and let's go to the emails. and tie them in. And then we are going to change the thank you page as well and do some magic, because it's really cool and you can do it with Mavic after this. So I created my newsletter already, and in this newsletter, this is like just a marketer version of the newsletter. So this is what I'm going to send out to marketers. It's going to be in the marketer segment. So I could write here marketer. I don't think I have that. Yeah, so I have the coder here. Doesn't matter. So I would choose the right segment, and in this dummy email, I would add the preference center here. So this link here referring to my page number 36 inside of Mavic. So if I go here back to my pages, I can see this is my page 36. This is my preference center. So I just say page link 36 and it will automatically go there. Obviously this should be other, I think, because it's adding the HTTPS itself. So this is how you embed the preference center into the email. Great. Now we have to work a little bit on that thank you page, because I'm not quite happy with it. But before we do that, we will do some magic with dynamic content. So I prepared this a little bit already. So I have here newsletter interest marketer, and shouldn't be black, so it should be black. And then we actually see what's happening here. So I have here just one sentence saying marketing newsletter, trick your customers into spending more and feeling great about it. So if you subscribe to the marketer newsletter, you would see this line, okay? And the goal is to have a page where you're saying, great, thank you for subscribing. Right now your settings are the following. You will get the following newsletters. And then you write marketer newsletter, coder newsletter, and DevOps, and so on. So I have here the marketer already. And I also created one for designer, and I have also one for coder. So I will create one more for DevOps. Let's clone it. I will call this newsletter interest DevOps. I'm gonna call this DevOps here. This is super important because this slot name here will be required for calling this specific slot. The color is wrong, it should be black, and this would be the DevOps newsletter. Play more while others are working. Okay, cool. So we have all of them now ready. Let's embed this text into our thank you page and a little bit, maybe change the thank you page as well. But just one more thing before we do that. So here I have to set a filter that this dynamic content, oops, I don't know why this is not saved, so this is black here, that this dynamic content is only visible for contacts. I forgot to, yeah, so only visible to contacts who are actually interested in that specific topic. So marketer would be able to see this here. And then some designers, and some interest is here. And the other one, this would be obviously for course. And third one should be visible for also that was the same. What did it say? So that was this. And this should be those. Okay. So great. Now we have this custom fields. Now let's go back to our landing pages and change this thank you page a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take over the design from here and then make the changes, because this is I think this is a good design. Now we don't need this text here, none of these actually, because what we're just gonna say that hey, you subscribe. You can make this nicer, of course. You can use this original design here if you want to. The form we won't need anymore, so here we just have to add the text, and here we're gonna say thank you, your current following topics. Okay, so here we are going to embed those custom content. So let's delete this one as well. Not needed, not needed, not needed, not needed. Okay, cool. Let's save it. And the dynamic content looks as follows. Let's go back to the documentation for that. So in order to get the dynamic content, you need to call this. And of course, you could directly call it via tokens, because here we're explaining in the documentation real nice that you can use tokens. I tested with my version, it just doesn't work. So I'm just gonna go with the simple embedding the div itself. How do I know when? So here we are looking for the parameter slot. So I want to make sure that this I know what they are. So let's go back to dynamic content and check it one more time. So I forgot to turn that on. So let's check it one more time. Newsletter DevOps, and I have newsletter marketer probably. Marketer, okay, and probably I have designer and coder. So let's see if I accidentally did design, maybe. Yeah, of course, let's do designer and coder. Okay, so let's go back to our thank you page and add these slots here one by one. So where do they go? They go into this field here. So we're gonna unfortunately gonna have to do the editing here in the code, but it's pretty easy to see where it is because it's right in here. So actually I'm not even sure. Let's do this one. So it's the G3. This is where we're gonna go. Actually, no, I'm wrong. We're gonna go inside that box. So either to install a G3, I think I'm gonna try this G3 first. I love when I'm testing things on the go, so it's this one. Okay, so I have this here, what I just copied from the documentation. The my slot is newsletter marketer, and we actually don't need any text here, so I can just delete this. Okay, so let's add also newsletter coder, newsletter designer, and let's add newsletter DevOps. Okay, edit. You don't see anything. Good, because you're not supposed to see anything. And the reason is because here the filter doesn't work, so Mautic doesn't know what I'm qualifying for. It's not showing anything. Let's save it. And let's try to see it from another page. How can we do that? The best is to use a completely different browser, and for that I'm gonna use a Microsoft Edge. So let's open this page in a Microsoft Edge browser, and what I see here is that I don't see my email address. So probably this user I'm opening with already registered. He's already in the system. So let's see who this person really is. So this is the person, and I can see that he doesn't have any newsletter interest. So let's give him marketer newsletter interest. And now I see that he's interested in marketing. Very cool. So I can update this by clicking here. Then I click on update preferences. And as you can see in the thank you page, I automatically see these three topics, what I just chose before, because this contact is connected to those interests, and it's automatically shown as dynamic content in the thank you page. I believe that we should have here something like change my preferences button, which goes back. Let's back to the thank you page. Here we're gonna add the button. So here the button where you're saying just go back. So this is my test page here. I could use here, of course, just the page link as well. And this text should be like update preferences. Update preferences. Okay. I could change the design. I'm just not gonna waste time with it, but I I guess you get the point. So let's go back to here. And we can go to update preferences, then it's our preference center. So we are just DevOps. And just the DevOps is visible here. So this is how you make your preference center really pretty in Mautic. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you really liked this part and you learned something. You can download everything what you've seen today in this part in your very own download center after free registration on my website, joeykeller.com. If you're a supporter member, you get a lot more scripts and themes and all kind of exclusive training. So maybe it's something you consider. You help me and you help the Mautic community as well, because every subscription will get $1 poured into developing Mautic further. So thank you again for watching. I'll see you in approximately 2 weeks. Until then, keep automating.